So this is my group's presentation on our comparison of contemporary noir and film noir. So our contemporary, which we are doing, is going to be Blade Runner from 1982, and our film noir is going to be Laura from 1944. The difference is that contemporary is more modern and film noir is it's classic. But first, let's go on to our primary research. In our primary research, this was us doing focus groups where we'd show our group, or the group which we were with, our two of our clips which we chose from both films, and then we asked them a few questions. So here are the clips.
Mr. Lydecker?
Oh, you recognize me. How splendid. Sit down, please.
Nice little place you have here, Mr. Lydecker.
It's lavish, but I call it home. I suppose you're here about the Laura Hunt murder. Yesterday morning, after Laura's body was found, I was questioned by Sergeants McEverty and Schultz. And I stated. On Friday night, Laura had a dinner engagement with me, after which she was ostensibly going out of town. She phoned and canceled our engagement at exactly 7 o'clock. After that,
You ate a lonely dinner, then got into the tub to read. Why did you write it down? Afraid you'd forget it?
I am the most widely misquoted man in America. When my friends do it, I resent it. From Sergeants McEverty and Schultz, I should find it intolerable. Hand me that washcloth, please, Mr.
A new life awaits you in the off-world colony. The chance to begin again in a golden land of opportunity and adventure. The custom-tailored genetically humanoid replicant designed especially for
Give me 4.
2つ十分ですよ。
No, 4. 2, 2, 4.
2つ十分ですよ。
And noodles.
任せてください。
Okay, now we are going to go over to the audio where we asked them questions about what they thought of the clip and just got primary research.
My first question's gonna be, how has film noir storylines and their themes changed over the time?
Colour. It changes it like black and white.
That's got nothing to do with story. They become more relevant to more modern issues.
Whilst back then it was more around the times like it was more probably to do with their historical events, whilst now it's just
It's about whatever's going on. It's like
it's
racism
like
or whatever.
anything.
Anything which you want to say,
other
Kate?
than colour?
That was my input.
Colour.
Would you talk about how the budget's changed? So obviously they've had more opportunity to
Do you think
diverse.
that affected the storyline?
Yes, because they
Yeah,
as
you
back
can
in
do
the
stuff
days.
on a bigger scale.
Because back in the days they could have had the opportunity to do it in the future, but obviously they never had the budget to like do all this. So
Okay. Next question is going to be about the camera work of it. So, how over the time of the distance between these two movies, how much would you say the camera angles and how the cameras are used have changed?
In the first one, there's only really one angle, and this one there's more angles.
Yeah, I agree with that.
that's literally all you can really say. But I mean, apart from
Is
it
there any
makes
different techniques?
It- this
There's
one-
less cuts in the first one.
Because they're
the first one it.
Because they had to film on film. And it was
As it was more really just one angle, it makes it less interesting because you lose focus. Whilst as it's different, you're like all over the place.
More
You can't
on
show-
point
more
trying to
intrigued.
understand it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my final question is about the edits of the two. How in these two clips does the editing compare and how does it affect you as an audience? So how do you feel this edit has...
Well, In the first one, in the black and white, I don't really feel any like input in like connection to there. Whilst in the second one, it makes you feel like you're in the streets of wherever that is.
Yeah.
LA.
LA. I thought it was in China or something. But it makes you feel more there because obviously you got the sound, the ambient. Whilst the other one was just talking. That's just it, really.
Yeah.
And
Anything you two want to say?
Based. Yeah, I agree with Toby.
Agree with Toby?
I mean, yeah, there's not a lot you can really say.
Right, okay.
As technology gets better, you can do more stuff. So.
My first question is about that.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to secondary research. One of the things which I have to talk about is the storyline, plots and themes of films. So basically I'm just going to tell you what it is and then how is it used in my 2 films and just all of that. So what is a plot? The storyline of a movie is the way the story develops, which can also be known as the plot. That's why I've decided to say what is storyline / plot, since they are very similar and most people just put them in the same area. It is tended to be used in films because if you didn't have them in the film, then it would just be all over the place and you wouldn't be able to understand where the film is going. So 2 examples which we used was of course Blade Runner and Laura. So Blade Runner was created in 1982 and Laura was created in 1944, so they were very different, but they're both film noirs. Now in Laura, a detective is investigating the death of a girl called Laura. That is the basic plot and storyline for everyone to follow so they understand what's actually going on. Now Blade Runner, the main character, was told by a police boss to continue his old job as a hunter, which is him tracking down, which is very similar to what a detective does where they have to find information and track something down. So he was tracking a human in Blade Runner, or humans, and then in Laura the detective was trying to figure out who had killed Laura, but later on in the story, the plot and storyline has changed, so that's how it's gone. So now we're going to move on to what is theme. The theme of the film sets the movie in motion and allows the audience to grasp what the movie is going to be about. So, for example, it could be about greed, love, betrayal, jealousy, revenge, money, corruption, murder, all sorts of that. So with Laura, it's about a murder and investigating crime, and it's very similar to Blade Runner where he's having to catch some convicts, so i.e. criminals. So these 2 films are very similar. They're both noirs, and most noirs follow the same basis of crime, money, sex, murder, everything like that, which is done because everyone who watches film noir is a set audience and it is made for film noir people who like watching film noir. So if they changed it up, it just wouldn't feel right to people who watch it on a daily basis or every now and then and enjoy film noir. My next subject is editing. This subject can vary and have a lot more added on to it, but I'm just going to show you the basics. So what is editing? Editing is the final cut which happens during a film, and it's the very final thing, but it will go through extensive different ways of going through. So you'll have an edit, then it will go to a colour grader, then a sound effects artist, then a VFX artist, and all of that, which goes back and forth multiple places to create better looking clips basically. So, and that helps develop the story, because if your edit is bad, your story isn't told. Most people think the storyline and the plot and theme is what makes the film so good, but if you have a shocking edit and an amazing storyline, it doesn't matter. So some editing techniques used would be fades, L cuts, J cuts, just normal cuts, and then even just music being synced up in like fight scenes. So here's an explanation of them all. The fade. This is where the video clip will slowly but surely fade into dark to make a smooth transition into the next scene. So this will make it just feel more normal and not from one scene to another, and just sort of make the audience lose focus. This gradually helps them get into the next scene. Now moving on, an L cut. This is where the audio of the last scene carries on to the next scene even when the new scene's video starts playing. It just helps the audio of a scene carry on. So if music was playing from the last scene, it will go into the next scene just to help you slowly move on to the next scene and just be a better transition. The J cut. This is the same as the L cut, but it's the overlapping of the new video with the overlapping of the old audio. So it's basically the L cut, just the opposite way around. Now the cut, this is a technique used in every film. The three above, they are most normally used, but sometimes maybe not, but cuts are always used. This is where the clips change to the next scene or to a different point of view straight away with nothing in it, and it just flips over, and will be used in any film. You look at any film, they will have it. Finally, music synced up. This allows editing to be more fluent, or not editing, the actual video more fluent, and just feels more right, but it's used to sync up the audio to the clip with the music, and it just makes the audience feel more a part of the scene and everything like that. Editing. All of these editing techniques are all used in Laura and in Blade Runner. Even though they are both film noirs, these editing techniques are used in most films. This is because these techniques make the edit smoother and makes the film easier to understand and watch. The fade. Fade was used in Blade Runner and in Laura to help a transition of time pass, since it is a smooth and simple way to show that either a lot or even a little time has passed. L-cuts. The L-cut is also used in both, since it helps for when two or more people are talking. Just makes the conversation feel more natural. It's like if you had two people in front of you facing each other. When one's talking, you'll be looking at them, but then the other one starts talking and you have to tilt your head. That tilting of your head is audio coming from the other side without you realising, and you have to make an adjustment to see. J-cut. The J-cut is like the L-cut and does the same thing. It helps for when two or more people are talking, since it makes the conversation feel more natural. It's like if you were looking back and forth and they talk before you move to look. Cuts. Cuts are used in both, since it helps the transition for when the detective in Laura is talking to other people and we need to see their reaction. Just like Blade Runner, it does the same. So they will both cut to make a transition and just skip to a whole new scene so we can talk to other people and everything like that. And finally, with music being synced up, this is used in both, since the music helps you feel a part of the scene and it helps us as an audience get into the film, so it's like you are there in front of them while they are playing it out to you. So it would happen with the detective in Laura, and it happened with Blade Runner, and it just made you focus more on the scene and feel more a part of it. My final thing which I need to talk about is the camera. So when we talk about camera in films, we don't really talk about the actual camera, more the angles and the pans used in the film, since if these aren't good, it makes the whole film feel choppy and just not as smooth. So if you had all your shots filmed on a tripod, it just wouldn't feel right, because it's not in motion and it just doesn't feel correct for everyone. Some examples of camera techniques which could be used and are commonly used in film noir are low angle shots, high angle shots, medium shots, close up, focus pull, Dutch angle, mirror reflection, and a pan. So what are all these? A low angle shot. This is a shot used to show the person in front of the shot is in power or is dominant. So say if a character was lying on the ground and the camera was pointed up at the person standing over them, it's a point of view of the person lying on the ground, how they are to the person standing up, and it just shows off the people in front standing up are more dominant and in power over the person on the floor. The high angle shot. This is a shot which can be used to get an overview of the whole place, but can also be helped to show the dominance. So if one character is a lot bigger than their other character who they're facing off against, they will use a high angle shot facing down over the smaller character to show he isn't as powerful, but it can also be used to make us all underestimate the people who are lower down. The medium angle shot. This is a shot which can help get two subjects in a shot at once and is normally used when they are having a conversation, so it lets you see both of them in frame at the same time, and it will just help you understand a bit more than everyone chopping back and forth, because it gets a bit messy and people struggle to understand. So you'll see every now and then a medium angle shot is used. The close-up now. This is a shot used to show emotion in a character's face, so we can see their reaction to a comment or thing they have just seen / heard. So if we, let's say, had a family and then a police officer came around and told them one of their family members died in a shooting or died in a car crash, this is where the director would decide to take advantage of this and get a close-up of a family member's reaction, see how they react to it, to help the audience understand what they're going through, or even to understand what their character's like. So if the character shows no care, it makes us feel annoyed and angry at that character. But it can also make us feel sorry for them if they are upset. Now moving on to the focus pull. A focus pull is used to change the focus on a different object or person. This will be just another way of introducing a character or anything like that, or showing something else which now needs to be important. The Dutch angle. This is normally used to show the madness of part of a scene, so shows problems which are going on and just makes you feel more a part of the scene and showing that it's a bit all over the place. The mirror reflection shot. This shot is normally used to help the development of a character in a scene, so you will tend to have a shot of through the mirror of them getting ready, and that's just giving you the option to see how they get ready and what they may be going through, and it tends to be used to show that hey, a character is now going to change differently. And finally, the pan shot. The pan is also used to help move around a scene, so it just stops the scene from feeling very still. So like I said earlier, if you left all your shots on a tripod, it just wouldn't feel right because there's no movement, whereas the pan shot allows movement in the scene and just makes the scene feel more like you can be a part of it. So camera. Examples of films where these techniques are used is of course Laura and Blade Runner, the two films which we had to do. The shots which are used in Laura is low angle shot, high angle shot, medium angle shot, close up, mirror reflection and pan. As you can see though, there was no focus pull, so we won't be talking about that for Laura. And then for Blade Runner, it's a low angle shot, high angle shot, medium angle shot, close up shot and a pan. This is just because I never saw any reflection shots nor focus pulls, so we won't be talking about focus pull at all, but reflection shot will be used. Remember, these are only just some of the examples which we could have used. There were many more which we could have used. With the low angle shot, they are both used in both of these films, and it helps show the person ahead of the shot is dominant. So like I said earlier, if it's very low, the person in front of it which is looking up at it, just helps you show that they were the dominant ones. And it was used very often in it was used quite a bit in Laura to help us understand who was in power while the detective was going round and how everyone else thought. With a high angle shot, this allowed them both, in both films, to use it to do the same thing as the low angle shot, but of course the other perspective, which helped us also see in Laura and Blade Runner who of course was dominant and who wasn't. Medium angle shot. This shot is used in both films to help us as an audience understand who is talking to who when there is one or more characters. This was used in Laura in the very opening scene to show the detective coming in and introducing himself as the detective and him being the main character, but then also to introduce a brand new character who he needed to talk to and find information from. And then it was also used in Blade Runner on one of his opening scenes of where we see the Blade Runner, of him sitting down and then behind him two police officers coming up to come get him, which just helped us understand who was dominant and what was going on. So they were both used in both shots. Now the mirror reflection shot, this shot is only used in Laura from what I remember, and this helped us understand the development of who the detective thought was guilty, because one of the very first mirror shots used was where the detective is in the background talking to another character, and the detective is sort of sitting there with a little game which he has and not really listening to what the other character looking through the mirror had to say, because this helped to show the development of the detective in him realising, well, this person isn't guilty, we're okay. And then finally, the pan shot. This shot is used in both films and helps the films feel less choppy, like I said before, and it made it easy for us as an audience to understand where they were and what was going on, because, like I said, tripod shots just on tripods and no movement, it just doesn't feel correct, because it just doesn't help you get part of the scene. Because if two people were talking, you wouldn't just be standing there forever and watching them, or if people were walking, you wouldn't be standing there watching them walk, you would walk with them. So it just made it feel a lot more. So now we are going to go over to George's